And welcome to another Mark Bishop show. And in the lead up to Earth Day, I have a very special guest coming up. But I want you to look at how the meat and dairy industries are behind weather extremes, fires, and how eating more plant-based foods can help the planet. Well, when we think of greenhouse gas emissions that cause climate change, many of us think of what trains and planes and automobiles, are spewing into the atmosphere. Well, that isn't pretty, but according to the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, animal-based agriculture represents 14.5% of total greenhouse emissions. Good old cows making up to 65% of that total. Boy, oh boy, and it may be surprising that it isn't just belching methane that's the problem. It's cutting down forests as far away as Brazil to make way for and feed all those cows. I mean, it's like you can't win. I'd like to welcome Poorva Joshipura. She's the Senior Vice President of International Affairs for the People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, and I'm referring to PETA, of course, Foundation UK. Welcome, Poorva. Lovely to have you.
Lovely to be here.
Well, that intro, it's surprising, isn't it? I mean, those stats. I mean, how do you win? You clear the land, you need to feed the cows, but then you've got the methane. Well, what's your take on all of that?
Well, increasingly, people around the world are realizing that one of the easiest ways to help animals, the planet, and our own health is to eat vegan. Every single person who eats vegan saves up to 200 animals a year. And University of Oxford found that cutting out meat and dairy products from our diet can reduce our carbon footprint from food by up to 73%, making it conceivably the single biggest way to reduce our impact on the planet. You spoke about cars and airplanes. Well, that figure you gave from the UN, 14.5% of global greenhouse gas emissions coming from the meat, egg, and dairy industry. Well, by some estimates, that's greater than all of the world's transportation systems combined. So that's more than the cars and trucks and airplanes around the world combined.
Wow, put together. You just don't look at it that way. I mean, it blew me away when I read this because beyond the environmental impact, there's a devastating amount of life lost to feed animal-derived products to human beings.
Yes.
About 80 billion land animals, up to trillions of marine animals. I mean, these are killed every year for food. And at the same time, a new market has grown up for vegan meats. Now, milks, cheeses, other foods, people, when you're talking about vegan, they're wondering how they're going to go from a steak to a caraway seed and a glass of water. You know what I mean?
Well, those 80 billion land animals and trillions of marine animals you talked about, they are, each one of them was an individual, a thinking, feeling being who did not want to die. So the 2.7 trillion fish who are caught every year, I'll just put that into perspective. That's 5 million of those individuals caught every single minute. And that's 80 billion land animals, that's 8 times the number of humans there are on the planet. And 99% of the animals in the U.S. are factory farmed. That means that they are kept by the tens of thousands, up to the tens of thousands in these vast sheds or warehouses crammed all together. Chickens used for eggs are kept in cages so small they can't even spread a wing.
Yeah, I know.
You have male calves unwanted by the dairy industry, confined to narrow crates for veal. And so more and more people want nothing to do with this. And as the demand changes, so does the supply. So these days, at just about any supermarket you go into, you can find delicious vegan pork, vegan chicken, vegan fish, you name it.
Yeah.
Vegan plant milks, vegan cheeses, vegan yogurt, vegan ice cream. You don't even have to sacrifice on the taste at all. And you'll, while not sacrificing on the taste, you'll gain benefits. A study published in JAMA Internal Medicine found that vegans live longer than meat eaters.
Well, in the United States alone, boy, I mean, companies like Walmart, Aldi, Whole Foods, and Trader Joe's they've come out with their own brands of vegan burgers, chicken, and even vegan cheese. And several meat companies have branched into vegan foods too. I mean, dairy companies. They're also investing in plant-based milk, such as Dairy Queen marketing the vegan Dilly ice cream bar. And 100-year-old dairy processor Elmhurst wholly switching over to plant milk production. So it's starting to take a foot, isn't it? It's starting to take a holding.
Oh, for sure. These meat companies like Tyson, Smithfield, Hormel, who have come out with their own plant-based meats, and Dannon, which now owns White Wave Foods, which makes dairy-free products, they're recognizing that the plant-based meat and milk market is skyrocketing. In fact, the global plant-based meat market is estimated to reach about $35.4 billion in a few years. The vegan milk market is estimated to reach about $41 billion. So it's good for business.
Well, it's very much educational, isn't it? People have to understand and know about it. Mm-hmm. Because
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, more and more people are opting for it, and for good reason. Oxford Martin School researchers have found that a global switch to vegan diets could save 8.1 million lives by 2050, reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 70%, lead to healthcare-related savings up to $1,000 billion per year, and avoid climate-related damages of $1.5 trillion. So eating plant-based foods, eating vegan foods is a win-win situation any way you look at it.
Well, it is. And I guess on your site too, folks, there's a lot of reading you can do on PETA.org. That's www.peta.org. There's a lot more about this. You mentioned this before, Poorva. How many land and marine animals are killed each year for food? I mean, it was some astronomical number.
Oh, yeah. 80 billion land animals and trillions of marine animals. And, we know so much more about these animals today than we did yesterday, which increases our responsibility towards them, because today we know that fish feel pain and that they're intelligent, that they have impressive long-term memories, that they use tools, or that chickens' cognitive abilities can be compared in some ways to cats, dogs, and even some primates, that pigs are smarter than dogs. So it becomes harder and harder to answer why one animal is food and one animal is a companion at home.
Well, it all goes back to the fella in the cave trying to figure out how to spear something to eat for his loved one and kids. But, we're brought up that way. We love our burgers. We love our steaks. I'm guilty of that. But ironically, I speaking to a friend the other day, and I said, look, you must come around and have a barbie, and he said, well, as long as it's, I'm a vegan, mate. I mean, do you have veggie burgers? I said, oh, well, we can get them. But there you go. See, it's just a little bit of knowledge, isn't it? So the environmental impact
for sure.
on animal-based agriculture, I'm concerned about this, not only being the oxygen in the lungs of the world, but what's going on in the rainforest. And the irony of it all is they're clearing it all so that they can feed cattle, for another industry.
Oh, yeah. Well, cattle used and killed for meat and leather are responsible for about 80% of all deforestation in the Amazon. And it's not just nice to have the Amazon. It's not just nice to have those trees. The Amazon produces about 20% of the world's oxygen. And the facilities,
No, I was going to go on. Listen, I'm listening.
Oh, well, the facilities linked to raising animals for food occupy about 45% or nearly half of the global surface area. So the meat, egg, and dairy industries are very much linked to species extinction, because as animal agriculture continues to take over the Earth's landmass, species-rich habitats like in the Amazon are being destroyed.
Well, my guest today has been Poorva Joshipura, has a book out for a moment of taste, How What You Eat Impacts Animals. Where can that be got hold of, Poorva? Where can one buy that?
Well, you can go on to Amazon and, that book is available there. I have to say it's largely about what happens to animals in India for meat, eggs, and dairy, because I had spent a lot of time investigating that situation there.
Mm-hmm.
But around the world, about 70% of the animals are factory farmed, just like 99% of them in the U.S. are factory farmed. So much of what happens there is the same as what happens here. And, as we know from things like COVID-19 and SARS and bird flu, what happens to animals in other countries very much should be of concern to us.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, we're only, they say 6% degree of separation, but I think it's less than that. In closing, the work that you've done, I mean, to consider, and when you think about Mercedes-Benz, to offer leather-free options for its luxury cars, victories under your leadership have included pushing the Indian government to ban animal tests for cosmetics and household products, as well as major fashion retailers to stop selling items containing down feathers, Angora wool, and fur. You've done a good job, haven't you?
Oh, well, thank you so much. And for anybody interested in knowing how to shop vegan, or if they're in the market for a car, there's so many other car companies these days that offer wonderful leather-free interiors that are superior to leather. And they do this because cow leather is the most polluting material in fashion. So you can go onto our website. You can also find a list of cosmetics and household product companies that don't test out animals.
Mm-hmm.
So whether you want to eat vegan, wear vegan, buy vegan products, it's all there on our website.
And that's www.peta.org, okay? Well, thank you, Poorva Joshipura, Senior Vice President of International Affairs for the People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals for PETA Foundation UK. Lovely speaking with you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you so much.